Dumelang. My name is Tato Sikwane, DJ Fresh, if you will. Now, when I was asked to speak at Mr. Show's memorial, first thing I asked myself was, I'm almost certain there's 100 people more qualified before me to take up this role. But the reason I didn't kick and scream or complain is because I fully understood that 99% of people who'll be watching this right now only know the Shona of the last 5, 10, 15, maybe 20 years. But there's still the boy that a lot of you know nothing about. There's still the foundation that a lot of you know nothing about. And one of the things I remember the most about Mr. Show was a post he made on social media just talking about his journey and his resilience, and about the fact that I think it was at an audition where one of the directors told him that his problem is that he's not memorable and that he wouldn't go far in the industry. And I remember reading that and thinking, this is such, am I allowed to say twak? This is such twak. This man is so memorable. I've got memories of him from when we were even 8, 9, 10 years old. So I said to myself, you know what, I'm going to actually go and talk. But the challenge is, what do I talk about? Do I talk about the boy born in the 70s and raised in the 80s that always stood out because he was memorable? Because he's always been the man. He's always been that guy. Shona was a hunk even when we were 10, guys. I don't think you understand. Do I talk about a childhood spent with such a wide range of friends, where we rode our bikes, carefree, roller skated, we went bird hunting even. In fact, I said this in a video that I posted the other day, that my fondest memory of Shona goes back to, I think it was 1983, 1984. I was about 11, 12, he was about 9, 10. After tearing through the neighborhood on our bicycles, we ended up at Ma Fergie's house, as she was often affectionately known. And I say Ma Fergie's house because, as you all know, mothers run the house. And for those of you that don't know, Ma Fergie made the best magwinya, fat cakes, in all of Gaborone. If you want to fight me about it, I'm at the zone. We can meet outside after this. And I remember this day where we were, so behind the Ferguson house, there was like a bush where we always either played or we went bird hunting or, you know, we just got up to stuff kids got up to. And on that day, we had our pellet guns and we were target shooting. And I remember hitting a coin with my pellet gun. And I've never forgotten the animated, because Shona was younger than most of us in that crew. I'll never forget the animated look on his face at the fact that he's like, choo, 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 choo. Oh, blind, you know? And for me, that is how memorable he is. Even something as small as that, where we're target practicing with our pellet guns, I've never forgotten about. Do I talk about how much watching movies was a huge thing in Ma Fergie's house? I think if ever there was a movie collection Olympics of the 80s, the Ferguson'S would have won it hands down. There were movies everywhere. I think at some stage there wasn't even a filing system. They were just stacked everywhere. And I'm actually not surprised that Shona ended up making movies. Do I talk about school holidays spent hanging around on the veranda at the Apiri house, laughing, dreaming, listening to music? I mean, I close my eyes and I go back to that veranda. I see you, Shona, or Shooks, as we called you at the time. Your brother, Chomi, also known as Alfie, Dominic, or Domi. You, Mr. Shooks. The Apiri sisters, Ritumezi, Mamello, Refilwe, Trevor Bernhardt, Buikanyo, also known as Lemporwana, Victor, Chris. I even see my late cousin Peter Mabuto, who lived down the road from you. Do I talk about how my heart breaks for your family and the Apiri girls? I mean, you all were literally neighbors. And you know, as kids do, there was a hole in the fence so that it was easy to hop from one family's house to the other. I don't know how the parents felt about that, but that is why there was a hole in the fence, so that it made it easier to visit. Do I talk about the combi? Guys, before the Trompi's bus, there was the Ferguson Mitsubishi. I still remember the number plates. The number plates of that Mitsubishi was BD4322. It was later nicknamed Boys and Dames 4322 because there was always boys and there was always girls in that Mitsubishi. And in fact, at that time, I think we called Shona Jack. That was Shona's nickname at the time of the Mitsubishi. In fact, another big memory I have of Mr. Shaw was his love for music. So whenever the Mitsubishi came driving down the street, or the Cressida, they had a dope Cressida. It was a BD 777, if I'm not mistaken. I have a good memory. It was BD 777. So how you knew it's Shona driving the Mitsubishi or the Cressida was because any one of these songs was playing, and it was playing very loudly. There was an artist called Sydney. He had a song called Bo Mama's Baby. Mama's Baby. Shona loved that track. Or he'd be playing Snap, The Power, Keith Sweat, Make It Last Forever. There was also a remix of Keep It Coming by Keith Sweat that Mr. Shaw loved a lot. Soul to Soul Joy, the Good Vibrations remix. He loved that to hell. Don't talk about the boys. So in high school, Shooks had a band of merry men, or boys, fondly referred to as the boys. They were all pretty boys, all of them. Dihanka, if you will. And girls loved them, guys wished they were them, and they were always dressed to the nines, like they were always dressed to the nines. Back then it was baggy pants because it was acceptable to wear pants that baggy. And despite how good they all looked, Shona always stood out. Shona was always memorable. Shona was always that guy, even amongst the boys. In fact, I'd like to say to Presley, Modise, Kaho, Khosi, Blackie, I think Shona's gone forward to make sure you guys get VIP seating when we eventually all get to heaven. Do I talk about Yam Jam effects and the events that Mike Mpeo used to put together? So Yam Jam effects would always book me. I was at university at the time for my sins. And Shona was good friends with Mike. And they were always the party. I mean, it was Mike's event, but Shona was always the party. Shona loved to dance. At least that's what we called it at the time. And I've never forgotten any of those events. There's so much we can say about Shona, his friends, his influence, etc. But what's important is for us to celebrate his life, because to him, life was a celebration. Shona was life, and therefore let's forever celebrate the life that Shona was. In fact, it's been such a heavy week. When we lost Mr. Shooks, Jack, we were already mourning 6 other people that we all grew up with or went to school with. All of these people passed away within the space of 10 days. So rest in peace to Arnold Mdluli, Heather Muir, Dick Mading, Kamanyani Pilani, Witumelo Komanyani, and my cousin Florence Lecha. God is clearly assembling an army of talent and leadership. Sis Connie and the 5 Ferguson clan, Leradimile Lesole, and for that we are eternally grateful. Lerato li ditapelo kitseo. Shona, you left a big void in our lives. We have to learn to live without you physically, but you'll forever be in our hearts. You're imprinted in them. We love you dearly and will forever love you. Rest in peace and stay memorable.